Good morning, everyone. We are Group 5 and we are here to discuss the Spanish period. But before that, let us first have the members of the group. First, the reporter, Mr. Alberson Alfante, our recorder, Abigail Bicodo, our manager, Hershey Joy de la Cruz, our director, Raymond Ferreter, and our researcher, yours truly, Alea Jessie Saligan. Let us begin our presentation with a prayer. Almighty Father, we praise you and we thank you for this day. Watch over us as we go about our studies and presentation. Help us in every ways that we may become children you want us to be. So now let's proceed to the desired learning outcome. First, we will be able to compare and contrast the cultures of the ancestors. Second, create timeline of important events. And third, determine the contribution of the Spanish period in our culture. In timeline of important events and main players, the timeline of the Spanish era in the Philippines. Spanish colonial era begins with arrival in 1521 of European explorer Ferdinand Magellan sailing for Spain, which heralded the period when the Philippines was a colony of the Spanish Empire, and ends with the outbreak of the Spanish-American War in 1898, which marked the beginning of the American colonial era of the Philippine history. To further explain the events and important main players in the Spanish period, Mr. Ferreter will explain that to you.
Spanish colonial era start in 1521 when Ferdinand Magellan was accidentally discovered Philippines. Ferdinand Magellan was go to Cebu and he fight Lapu-Lapu. Lapu-Lapu was won and some member of Ferdinand Magellan was go to Spain to report what happened. And the King of Spain was decide to go to the Philippines. In 1600s to 1800s, the Philippines under Spanish rule. On these years, the Spanish start to colonialize Philippines. In almost 333 years, Spanish colonialized Philippines. Take note, di po lahat ng lugar sa Pilipinas is nasakop ng Spain. Some part of Mindanao was not joined. Sa taong ding ito, unti-unting nagkaroon ng pagbabago sa culture ng Pilipinas. Unang-una sa lahat, pagdating sa pagkain, pananalita, infrastructure, at lalong-lalo na sa edukasyon. Saka sa panahon na yan is, yung mga Pilipino is wala po silang damit at wala din po silang Diyos, at sa panahon din yan is tinuruan ng mga Pilipino na magkaroon ng Diyos. At doon din nila pinakilala si Jesus Christ. In 1560s to 1820s, challenges to Spanish authority. Challenges siya dahil kung titingnan natin yung geographical structure ng Pilipinas is watak-watak siya. Watak-watak siya at mahirap din siyang i-handle. So, ang ginawa ng King of Spain is nag-assign siya ng Fair Governor, Fair Island para mas maayos yung kanilang pamumuno. Between 1700s to 1800s, dito na is na-open na yung eyes ng mga Pilipino. Dito na sila nag-start ng war between Spanish at nag-start ito in province. Some famous person was nakilala is si Edss Bonifacio, Luchora Aquino, Antonio Luna, Gregorio de Pilar, and Diego Sila. Next, between 1882 to 1892, Dr. Jose Rizal, Marciano H. del Pilar, Graciano Jopes Jaina was wrote La Solidaridad. What is La Solidaridad? Sa La Solidaridad is siyang newspaper kung saan dito nakalagay yung mga news about ang nangyayari sa Pilipinas na ginagawa ng mga Spanish at sinesend ito sa ibang bansa para malaman ng mga ibang bansa ang nangyayari sa Pilipinas upang makahikayat sila ng tulong. With 1892 to 1896, dito na natayo ni Edss Bonifacio ang katipunan. After ng laban na yon is di pa rin sapat upang manalo ang mga Pilipino sa mga Espanyol. So, ang ginawa ni Edss Bonifacio is pumunta siya sa lugar ng mga Amerikano upang makipagkasundo. At sa huli is nanalo na ang Pilipinas. Natuldukan na rin yung 333 years na pananakop nila. At sa huli, yung Amerikano naman ang sumakop sa Pilipinas.
So now we are going to proceed to the contribution of Spaniards during colonization. In terms of education, there are four methods of education, which are the dictation, memorization, moro-moro, and cenaculo. And the content of education is Christian doctrine, which means the education that time is religion-oriented. And the universities are built that time, like UST or University of Santo Tomas, Colegio de Santa Potenciana, de Nuestra Señora del Santísimo. Some of those universities is still alive. And did you know that the universities that time is separated because there are universities for girls and boys. And also, there are Latin alphabet. So, Filipinos got learn different alphabet, even the Spanish languages. And in terms of literature, there are book of Thomas Pinpin that was created or written that time. And that is entitled Librong Pag-aaralan ng mga Tagalog ng Wikang Kastila. This book really contribute to the Filipinos, especially for them to understand the Spaniards and what are the plan of the Spaniards that time. And also, the two novel of Dr. Jose Rizal, which are the Non-Limitang Hare and El Filibusterismo. This is written because of Spaniards colonization. And there are also a lot of literature that was created that time, which is the Alibata, Christian doctrine, Spanish language, European legends, religious tone, grammar books, ancient literature, and songs and plays. And in terms of religion, there is only one religion that was created that time or implemented that time, which is the Roman Catholic. That time, Spaniards create a religion, and that is Roman Catholic. Everything is religion-oriented, and we all know that the religion of Roman Catholic is still present in our time, wherein there's a lot of believers. And in terms of government, under Spanish rule, it helps the Filipinos to be united and learn to fight. And in terms of tax, building of churches, buildings, road, improve, and transportation. Why government build a transportation or improve the transportation and communication that time? That is because it is important to them, because in terms of businesses and sharing the spices. And also, that time, the Philippines learned to be united in church and in state. In terms of festival, the Spaniards also contribute in terms of festival, which are Sinulog Festival, Flores de Mayo, Feast of Black Nazarene, and that is still celebrating this time. So in terms of food, the pandesal, which is one of our favorite breakfasts, and ensaymada, this is one of my favorite because the cheese on top of it, and the leche plan, which is famous in every celebration, especially for Christmas and New Year. And the longanisa and caldereta and paella. So these food are always included in the dishes of the Filipinos nowadays. That's all.
So let's proceed to lesson learned, action for change. Spanish authorities educate all Filipinos to teach them how to read and write in the Spanish language. The Spaniards introduced Christianity, which means the Roman Catholic faith, and succeeded in converting the overwhelming majority of Filipinos, at least 83%. Filipinos' adoption of Spanish dishes is especially evident during Christmas, including lechon, puchero, fabada, paella, morcon, embutido, leche flan, and churros are only some of the favorite Christmas dishes. Next is most art are religious, meaning to say it is Catholic-based, such as formal paintings, sculpture, and architecture influenced with Byzantine, Gothic, Baroque, and Rococo art style. Next is we have the Spaniards also taught us how to speak Spanish language, which is beneficial for us because Spanish language is also one of the official languages of the United Nations. This influence is evident even in the way we tell time, like for example, alas dos, alas tres, alas 5:30 in the way we count, like for example, uno, dos, tres, cuatro, which means 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the family names, we have Carey, De La Cruz, Reyes, Santos, and etc. We also have Filipino words which is originated from Spanish, like for example, enero, febrero, marzo, abril, mayo, junio, julio, agosto, septiembre, octubre, noviembre, diciembre, like that. And last but not the least, we also have stories about aswang began during the Spanish period, and they are also known to be the foremost fearsome creature in all of Philippine folklore. There are many types of aswang including manananggal, balbal, tikbalang, and mambabarang.
So now let's move on to the current issues, hope for the future between the relationship and interaction of Philippines and Spain. So I gathered news and issues between them. So for the first issues, this was posted on March 22, 2021. The Philippine Embassy in Spain, under the leadership and guidance of Ambassador Philip J. Luillier, organized a webinar on amulets entitled Ang Anting-Anting sa Kasaysayan ng Pilipinas, in celebration of the 2021 quincentennial commemorations. The event was made in partnership with the National Quincentennial Committee, or NQC, the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, the National Commission for Culture and Arts, the National Commission of Department of Foreign Affairs, and the Cavite Study Center of De La Salle University, Dasmariñas. The webinar was also in support of efforts of NQC to underscore the fact that there was a thriving pre-colonial culture prior to the arrival of Ferdinand Magellan in Philippines in 1521. The sources speaker was Dr. Jeffrey Alfaro Lubang, Associate Professor at the Social Sciences Department of De La Salle University in Dasmariñas, Cavite. A frequent guest on Philippine television shows resource speaker, Professor Lubang, has written more than 2 dozen books on anting-anting, local tradition, and children's stories. The Philippine Embassy aims to continue hosting webinars that appeal to the interest of Filipinos not only in Spain and Andorra but also around the world. So for the next issues or news, it was posted on May 6, 2021. The Philippine Embassy in Madrid is pleased to announce that overseas voting, or OV, registrants may now accomplish the voters' registration form through iRehistro platform, which allows applicants to accomplish the forms in advance prior to coming to embassy for the capturing of biometrics, photographs, fingerprints, and signature. Using the said platform, it will shorten the registration process, which is essential to us during this time of COVID-19 pandemic. And for the last news, this was posted on October 5, 2021. Philippine Embassy in Madrid pays tribute to Gregoria de Jesus de la Cambini of the Katipunan. In celebration of Araw ng Kagitingan and International Women's Day, the Philippine Embassy in Madrid held a webinar on the 25th of April 2021 titled Her Story, heritage, bayani, pagkikilala, paggunita, to commemorate the life of Gregoria de Jesus. Gregoria de Jesus, also known as Oryang or Lacambini, the revolutionist Gregoria de Jesus was the spouse of Andres Bonifacio and later on Julio Nakpil, and was the founder and vice president of the women's chapter of the Katipunan. In her personal life, she suffered the loss of a son, a brother, and the death of her first husband, Andres Bonifacio. Before finding more peaceful life with Julio Nakpil, with whom she had 8 children, the family lived in Bahay Nakpil Bautista, the ancestral home which is now a museum containing photos and family artifacts of the Katipunan and the Nakpil Bautista family. That's all.
And now, in this slide, you can see our references, wherein we gather our informations we shared with you. So we have 8 links here that you can visit in anytime, and for sure this will help you to broaden your knowledge about the Spanish period in our country. So that should be all. Thank you for watching and listening. We hope that you learned something from us. God bless and take care. Bye-bye.